Mr. McPeak here. Today we're going to be introducing the metronome and talking about how to use it while practicing. Right here I got an old school metronome. The thing I like about this is it moves side to side based on where you place this weight right here. So the fact that it's really high makes it move really slowly like this. I'll just put that in the background. The metronome is a tool that musicians use to keep time. A lot of music requires an even sense of rhythm, trying to avoid any dramatic speeding up or slowing down. This is where the metronome comes in handy. If you're new to using a metronome, it's really important to be extremely familiar with rhythms and how they fit into one another. For example, if I asked you how many eighth notes fit into a half note, or how many 16th notes fit into an eighth note, and it takes more than a couple seconds to get an answer, then you may want to check out this rhythmic pyramid here and ask a couple of those questions on your own and test yourself. However, we can also use a metronome to help us get more familiar with these rhythms and how they fit into one another. At the end of this video, I'll be going along some exercises that are super helpful to get familiar with the metronome and rhythms. First, let's look at a measure of music and check out some rules that go along with using a metronome. The most common way you'll see a metronome being used is having each click you hear assigned to every beat in a measure. The time signature tells us two things. The top number represents how many beats are in every measure, in this case being 4 beats in every measure of music, and the bottom number tells us the length of every beat in each measure, the 4 representing a quarter note. This means if we used a metronome with this measure of music, you will hear 4 even clicks represented by these 4 slash notes. Let's check out what that sounds like. With most metronomes, you can add a different pitch to your click. We can set this higher click to the first beat of every measure by setting it to occur every 4 beats in this case. Let's check out what that sounds like. So, if we put 4 quarter notes on this measure and play them, they should align right with the click. Let's clap together these 4 quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Awesome. Now if we swap these quarter notes with eighth notes being half the length of a quarter note, that means we'd have to clap exactly twice within every click of the metronome. You want to make sure that each eighth note is exactly the same length by listening to your clapping and the metronome clicking and comparing the two. Let's clap together these eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... A lot of students' first reaction to using the metronome is, it makes everything harder to play, so why should I use it? And my go-to response is always, all great tools require practice. The languages that we use and speak are a tool to communicate. Well, let me ask you a question. Were you born with knowing a language, or did it take practice? Learning to use a metronome helps musicians be as fluent with rhythms as they are with the languages that they speak. I'd like to end this video by going through an exercise that's perfect for getting your foot in the door with using a metronome. I'll be clapping through all the major duple rhythms you see here, starting from whole notes all the way to 16th notes. I'll be clapping just one measure for each of the rhythms. I suggest following along after a couple of times listening through this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2